And finally, Joe Blake.
Well, we are at that point where I am acutely aware that you will long remember what I little note. And so I'm going to try to give you, however, a little bit of a business perspective on why this is so important. Before I do, I want to acknowledge and thank Susan Zimmerman and Gail Clapper for years ago asking me to be a part of that first board of directors of the PEC. And I was wise enough, because we were involved at the time in Douglas County, to ask great friend Rick O'Connell to join us on the PEC board. And the rest, as they say, is history. But what their vision was in terms of engagement of the business community can never be adequately thanked. And I want to acknowledge that once again. There's a wonderful gentleman in the audience, Kevin Patterson, who I had a great chance to visit with last week, and he talked so clearly and so passionately about constant commitment to community. And I want to acknowledge that, because that is not just a statement that just should pass by. It's one that needs to be celebrated, and it's certainly one that the business community would want to share. There's another young Patterson in the room, but I have been promised not to be able to mention her name, but I will tell you she is the embodiment of someone who has a constant commitment to this community, and therefore, Annie, I won't bring your name up. The three words that I'd like to try to leave you with. One is hope, one is alignment, and the last is competition. It's really interesting to me that Leanna started out in this program today talking about hope. You know, without it, without hope and the expectation of success, we are simply not going anywhere. Napoleon talked about hope being one of the absolute ingredients of leadership. And hope is what we're here for. Hope is what at the end of 25 years will take us into the next generation and the generation beyond that. And the other word is alignment. I think that Dan Ritchie absolutely hit it when he talked about the alignment that now exists in this community, in this time, and in this place. And it begins and it rallies around Michael Bennett, and it rallies around the superintendents all across this state who are doing so much. It's wonderful to see Dwight Jones now heading the State Department of Education as someone who has come from dealing with alignment and dealing with hope. We are, in my opinion, we are at a point of what Emerson would say, a point of astonishment. A point of astonishment that those stars, those opportunities are so much more aligned. And then I want to talk about competition. Why does business care? Why is business a partner in everything that's going on right now? It's rather interesting, I think, that Al Yates and Bruce Benson and myself have been singled out for this unusual and, for me, undeserved recognition. But the three of us served as co-chairs of the campaign for referenda C&D. And when you see what the business community put into that campaign, primarily from the business community, $8.5 million to avoid a train wreck, we would be having an entirely different discussion today if we were not able to use as the very basis of that successful campaign that we must make Colorado competitive for the next generation in the years ahead. And that message got across. You know, you can talk in abstracts. You can talk about commitment and community, but it really comes to bear when you see a result as in the United Launch Alliance. You should know that our organization and others went to California to try to encourage those engineers and scientists to come here and join in the United Launch Alliance. And when you go to California and try to bring people here, they think of us as being mostly Siberia and probably the North Pole because it snows all the time. But when they got here, When they got here and they saw the quality of the schools that we had, and they recognized where they were living, public education, K-12, was really not a very viable option. We have it here. We have it here, and we ought to celebrate it, because business sees that kind of success. I want to say just this last, because the one thing I think business can bring every day of the week is something that it deals with every day of the week. It deals with hope, it deals with alignment, and it deals with competition. But it does every single day. It does it with a sense of urgency. It's what Kevin and I talked about in my office last week. I have a sense of urgency, the business community has a sense of urgency, and I just thank the public education and business community for giving us a reason to hope and a recognition that urgency will bring even greater results in the years ahead. Thank you.